Aita for telling my friend that she shouldn't be told to fetch her stuff from my place as it's her stuff and not my responsibility. Friend, who is a female and 19 years old, was staying with me and my parents for about 2 weeks. She left to stay in a safe house and left her belongings at my place. I said I would keep them until she got out. She left the safe house 3 months ago. About 2 months ago, I asked her to fetch her things because my family was complaining about them lying around. She said she would get them by the end of the month but didn't. I wrote exams in June, so I wasn't able to remind her to fetch her belongings. My parents asked me 2 days ago to check when she would fetch her stuff, and she finally did. Today she messaged me asking why I used a laptop she said I wasn't allowed to use. She also asked what the new PIN for her laptop is. I was confused as I only remember using the laptop for things she needed, like her CV and checking her Gmail. She said it was open to one of my profiles. I then remembered that my sister used her laptop once as hers broke. I told my sister not to go any further as I needed to ask permission. That was on June 1st. My friend said I could use her other laptop, not the one we were using. I didn't tell her that we had started using it and completely forgot as we didn't touch it again. I may have been at fault for not telling her that we used it and forgetting that we did. My friend has now restricted her Instagram account and has blocked me on WhatsApp before even reading my explanation. She also told me that she doesn't appreciate being lied to. I used her stuff and then told her to fetch her things now that we were done. This is not true. She should not have had to be asked to pick it up. She was asked twice. I understand that she is upset with us using her stuff, but I completely forgot that we used that laptop and couldn't even explain that to her. She didn't fetch her stuff when she said she would, so I am confused as to why she is mad that I asked her to fetch her things. I asked her to pick up her things before using the laptop. I did not change her PIN. I used the PIN she told me to use. I think blocking me is quite petty as she didn't let me explain what happened. I also don't think it is my responsibility to tell her to fetch her stuff as she is an adult. We didn't charge her rent or storage fees. I sent her a message in response to her accusing me of lying and asking her to fetch her stuff after I finished using it. I told her I shouldn't have to tell her to fetch her things. She is an adult, and it is her stuff, not mine. So I want to know, am I the asshole? Everyone sucks here. It's not okay to let someone use a friend's personal property just because it's there. Using her device without asking first is wrong but doesn't make one the asshole. She, however, is the asshole for taking her sweet time to get her stuff and then attacking without hearing the full explanation. Blocking someone without giving a chance to explain seems pretty petty, especially when she had already been asked twice to pick up her items. Am I the jerk for leaving my friends at dinner after they posted a bad picture of me? Yesterday, my friends Alicia, Thomas, Ben, and I were out shopping for a few hours when we decided to go eat dinner. This was our first time hanging out as a group, since I only recently became close to Ben. Ben asked me to hang out a week ago, and we decided to each invite a mutual friend. I invited Alicia, and he invited Thomas, so that it would be less awkward. Dinner rolls around, and we all get our food when Ben tells us that he has a girlfriend. Alicia and I were very curious and started asking questions, to which he said that he would tell me later. Alicia and I were still curious and kept sarcastically asking him who it was, which we found funny since in the past he lied about talking to girls. A little while later, Thomas shows Alicia and me a really bad photo he took of us when we were shopping earlier. When I say bad, I mean one of the 5 worst photos of me ever taken in my entire life. Out of instinct, I tried to snatch Thomas's phone and Ben was laughing, telling him to send it to him. Thomas then sent the picture to our group chat, laughed and quickly deleted it, but not before Ben saved the picture. I thought that was the end of it, but Ben and Thomas started laughing again and told us to check Instagram. Ben posted that picture on his story and tagged Alicia's boyfriend over her face and wrote, "Nobody wants this girl over mine." Alicia and I were pissed and told him to delete it, which he didn't do until a few minutes later after we were giving him the cold shoulder. In hindsight, that should have been the end of it, but I still felt disrespected because posting bad pictures of me is the one thing I can't tolerate due to my past self-esteem issues. Ben also has a history of posting terrible pictures of people on his story and not exactly being the best at apologies, so I was getting really riled up. I started texting Alicia on my phone and told her that I knew something like this would happen. My other friends do not like Thomas and Ben and warned us about them, so I said we should just go. Thomas noticed the mood change and started saying that Ben deleted the story and nobody else viewed it but us. Alicia and I ignored him and started packing up our food, walked out the door and went home. Alicia felt bad and texted them that we had to go to catch our bus, to which Thomas responded super dry and Ben didn't say anything. I am well aware that a bad picture is not the end of the world, but I am wondering if we were wrong for just walking out without saying anything. I haven't texted Thomas and Ben since then and am questioning whether I should say something or forget about it. Definitely you did the right thing. It's not about the picture but the blatant disrespect and trampling over consent. Both Ben and Thomas are at fault here, one for taking the bad picture and the other for sharing it, knowing full well the kind of person Ben is. What a total bunch of ass those guys are. Good riddance. Am I the jerk for ignoring my cousins and their IG posts after being excluded from the family vacation? I, a 32-year-old female, am being called rude, for not liking my cousin's Instagram post of the family vacation I was excluded from. Since I was a little kid, my family, which included my mother, brother, and father, has always gone on a beach vacation to the same spot with my cousins, where we would all share a house together. My aunt and uncle always stayed an extra week and often had other guests come during that time. Over the last decade, both my brother and father passed away. Since then, my mother and I were always still invited and would go on this family vacation, which always happened to be over my brother's birthday. It was always very therapeutic and truly some of the only times I felt true joy over the years, in part because it was the only time I felt like I had a family. This past year, my cousin's family grew a lot with new fiancés and children, and ultimately, my mother and I weren't invited on the trip. While I understand the family is now too big, I can't help but wonder why we couldn't have figured something out. We could have gotten a second house or switched between the weeks. The fact that we were excluded has been weighing on my heart, as if there's no place for me anywhere in that family anymore. I feel even more hurt that none of my cousins, who I thought were like my sisters, bothered to reach out to me to tell me they were going or say, "I wish so much you were here, we miss you," or anything. Instead, it's just been silence. I only found out they went when, right before my brother's birthday, my cousin posted on Instagram documenting the trip. I was bawling when I saw it, and my heart still hurts from being excluded and missing out. Needless to say, I didn't like the post. Somehow, my mother and I got to talking about it and she asked me if I liked my cousin's post. I told her no way, and I doubt anyone would notice. She made me feel incredibly guilty and wrong. I think her exact words were that it was very rude of me. I'm honestly upset with them and have no interest in talking to any of them for the time being. Apparently, I am in the wrong for that too. Am I the asshole? You did nothing wrong here. Not liking a picture is a personal decision and doesn't make someone rude. Have people forgotten the definition of rude? Wow, your mom has guilt-tripping verbal ninja skills to make you feel bad about being excluded from a family vacation. Am I the jerk for telling my sibling to relax and enjoy their vacation? We are on vacation with our whole family. This includes my parents, me, my 3 siblings, their 3 spouses, and a total of 11 children aged 5 to 16. This is a total of 20 people, 9 of whom are adults and 4 of whom are teenagers. Today we all went to the beach. It has been just small groups of us before this, but today it was everyone. My youngest brother Jim, who is 32 years old, is the single father of one daughter Amy, who is 5 years old. I noticed Jim was hanging out by the shore and Amy kept running up to him and he was playing with her. It was cute. Plus this is family time, so no big deal. Even when Amy was out swimming with her cousins, Jim was standing by the shore watching. It was hot, so I called him over and asked if he wanted to stand under the tent or get a cold drink. He came and grabbed a soda but went back out immediately after. I finally figured out that he was watching Amy, and I told him he needed to relax and enjoy his vacation because she was going to be fine. He just said he was worried about her because we forgot her life vest back at the house. I told him I understood, but I pointed out how many people were around, that she was a good swimmer, and that she would be fine. Our whole family was taking turns watching the kids from our canopy. I also pointed out that my daughter, who is 16 years old, was out there and that she would be fine. They are close, being the only girls out of all the children, and my daughter sees Amy like a little sister. He said he knew, but he was just worried. We went back and forth for a while until I just gave up and walked away. A few hours later, when the children decided to come out of the water, Jim was finally back under the tent. Our other brother made a joke about how Jim was going to have an awful sunglasses tan, and I brought up again that Jim could have just stayed under the tent. Jim went into his spiel again, and he asked if I would have let my children alone that young with no life vest. I said no because they did not have older cousins watching them. We kept going back and forth, and I told him again he needed to just relax and enjoy his vacation. He got annoyed with me and he and Amy headed back to the house early. My parents were mad at me for cutting their beach day short. Amy ended up falling asleep anyway, so not really. My siblings and their spouses are divided, and my daughter's feelings are hurt that Jim does not trust her with Amy. I wanted an outside perspective. Jim is a great attentive father who did exactly what was needed to ensure his child's safety. It only takes a very short period of inattention for someone to drown, and there were quite a few kids in the water, making it easy to get distracted. Your daughter might not fully understand the situation, but that doesn't mean Jim doesn't trust her in general. Maybe it's best to let everyone do their own thing and quit being so controlling. You're not the vacation police. Am I the jerk for yelling at my coworker for continuously invading my space? I, a 24-year-old female, work in a food factory and have been there for 4 years. It is a small company, thus it is a small area to work in. I work in the packaging part of the line where I send boxes full of goods through a tape machine and make sure the goods are perfect for shipping. I am next to Jay, a 54-year-old female who also helps put the product into the box and sends it to me. In the beginning, she was nice and helped me out, but now every time something happens, she immediately gets super close to me and asks questions about what is going on. I guessed a few times, but generally shrugged my shoulders at her questions and kept about my day. When she kept doing it, I asked her a few times to give me space and let me work. She would respect it for a few minutes before being back in my space, where I had to move awkwardly to push the boxes through. I have gone to management 4 times about this issue and they have said, we'll talk to her, but nothing has happened. Today, I was not in the best of moods as I did not sleep well. When the line went down, I put my head down to give myself a quick break from staring at boxes so much. All of a sudden, I felt someone pressing into me and asking, what's wrong with the line? I snapped and basically yelled, please leave me alone and give me space. Everyone else in the facility stared at us, and she looked taken aback by my sudden outburst before looking angry. She did not bother me for the rest of the day until I went to leave. My HR asked me to step into the office, and we had a talk about what happened. I recounted my story. They said, Jay came in here saying you were being disrespectful to her and that you yelled at her for nothing. I told them she was overstepping my boundaries, which I reported to them multiple times, so what I did was not my fault. So, am I the asshole? I think you are not in the wrong here. HR definitely failed in this situation. They didn't react after being warned 4 times, but you get reprimanded after your coworker complains once. There are boundaries to respect at work, and personal space is one of them. It was only a matter of time before you lost it, considering the circumstances. Am I the jerk for telling my family member no and ignoring their calls? I have always done everything for my grandmother growing up and have never said no to her. Recently this year, I have decided to start saying no to her because I am in the middle of a lot of changes in my life. The most recent change is I am moving across the country soon, so I have my schedule full. Every time I have said no to her, she seems personally offended and then makes up something to either yell at me for or lecture me about that has no standing or ever happened, just so she can seem justified in yelling at me. She has always been mentally abusive and manipulative to everyone in my family, and we all have been too afraid to stand up to her. I have always taken the brunt of this abuse and dealt with it, but now I am just done. I originally started to say no for my own mental state, and her behavior towards me has gotten less and less. Recently, however, I told her I could no longer watch my younger cousin because of the move, and she took personal offense to this and took it like I was attacking her. Yes, I agreed to it back in May, but things have changed. When I originally told her I couldn't, she had a month to find someone else for my aunt and uncle. Plenty of time. Ever since, she has been non-stop calling me. I know it's to yell at me and call me selfish, despite me never saying no until the beginning of this year. I said yes more times than no this year. However, she doesn't seem to think so whenever I say no. She would call me over 20 times a day. Recently, just today, she has called me 9 times in under a minute in the morning and then 7 times in under a minute again later in the afternoon. This has been literal harassment for almost 2.5 weeks now. Now she is flipping it on me and saying I am the one wanting our relationship to end like this, and how if that's how I am going to act, then she is cutting me from her life completely. What I am afraid of is how she will turn my family on me, as she has with many others time and time again, for having opinions and beliefs opposite of hers, despite those people respecting hers completely. I know she will paint me as the one harassing her when the only times I texted her was to ask her to stop or to tell her I was not picking up the phone when she demands I call her back, or when I am defending myself on my decision not to get yelled at by her. She has also threatened to come to my house if I don't answer her. Am I the asshole? You are not to blame. What you describe is harassment in every sense of the word. With that preposterous calling frequency, why in the world would you not block her or at least set a custom silent ringtone for her number? And if she shows up, well, that's why locks were invented. If she stands at the locked front door screaming, a call to the cops would be totally appropriate. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.